Political manifestos traditionally prioritize immediate welfare spending and short-term GDP metrics to secure the next 5-year cycle. The 2026 election manifesto from Nam Tamilnadu Katchi, or NTK, uses a data-driven framework that extends far beyond the immediate electoral horizon. Stripping away the rhetoric reveals a detailed system architecture document for regional governments. Analyzing a state as an operating system requires dividing it into 3 distinct layers: the underlying ecological bedrock, the physical infrastructure hardware, and the legal software that runs the administration. Modeling governance as an interconnected system shows how individual policies either reinforce the whole or create systemic bottlenecks. Standard political planning operates on a 5-year loop. This document anchors its developmental targets to 2030 and 2050. Reaching these targets requires moving away from immediate consumption and toward heavy capital expenditure, building physical assets that generate long-term value. This approach focuses on infrastructure designed for future population densities and climate realities, rather than immediate electoral incentives. We start at Layer 1, resource management. In this model, the environment is treated as the absolute limit on economic growth. This volume chart illustrates the state's hydrological limits. Tamilnadu has an estimated surface water capacity of 22,423 TMC, with a 2,200 TMC treatment target. Securing this requires virtual water monitoring, measuring the water embedded in industrial goods. This metric allows the state to monitor beverage companies and force private enterprises to account. Waste management follows a zero-waste mandate within a circular economy. A circular economy is a system that eliminates waste by continually reusing and recycling resources back into production. To achieve this, the plan deploys industrial-scale biomethanation and biomining. Specific isolated disposal protocols are also established for electronic and biomedical waste. In this architecture, economic policy is constrained by the hard mathematical limits of regional hydrology and waste capacity. Layer 2 is the physical economic engine, focusing on heavy capital expenditure and energy independence. This map shows the primary logistics network, a 47,000 crore investment directed toward developing mega port clusters along the coastline. To power this network, a secondary 6,000 crore investment is allocated to construct dedicated solar energy parks. Modernizing this logistics network requires permanently transcending historical baselines, like these hand-pulled rickshaws, through a transition to metro and tram systems for urban mobility. Agricultural policy in this framework functions as a high-efficiency industrial input sector. The cultivation of industrial hemp is emphasized as a primary, sustainable base material for the state's textile, paper, and construction industries. Maximizing yield requires the integration of high-tech methods like hydroponics and aquaponics. Aquaponics is a farming system that combines raising aquatic animals with growing plants in nutrient-rich water. The heavy capital expenditure in Layer 2 provides the physical hardware necessary to execute the environmental goals of Layer 1. Layer 3 is the administrative and regulatory software that governs the entire system. Legacy governance often fails because it lacks built-in feedback loops. Without structural accountability, policy failures and corruption go uncorrected. This flowchart highlights a radical judicial shift, the creation of innocence commissions, or Thavarana Thandani Olupu Anayam, to identify and release the wrongfully convicted. Accountability is enforced through a new Social Audit Act and digitized tracking for right-to-information requests. These changes require structural amendments to foundational codes like the IPC and CRPC to align the law with these transparency targets. Transparency is engineered into the state's legal code as an active regulatory mechanism. The user interface of the state OS determines how macro policies interact with the daily lives of citizens. Inclusion is highly specific, requiring dedicated government departments to support citizens with dyslexia, autism, and ADHD. Public spaces must meet strict accessibility mandates, while initiatives like HomoSep utilize robotics to eliminate manual scavenging in community living projects. Cultural policy establishes Tamil as the primary medium of instruction in advanced research, supported by digital platforms for global reach. Economic efficiency is secondary to universal access. A system is only as effective as its reach to the margins of society. When these three tiers are layered together, the full architecture of the proposed state comes into focus. The logic flows sequentially. Ecological limits in Layer 1 inform the infrastructure spending in Layer 2, which is audited and regulated by the legal reforms in Layer 3. Traditional politics often treats agriculture, justice, and energy as isolated silos, which can lead to conflicting policies. The success of this plan requires executing all pillars simultaneously. If legal accountability fails, infrastructure funding is lost. If water management fails, the energy grid cannot function. The NTK 2026 Manifesto functions as a data-backed blueprint aimed at transforming Tamil Nadu into a sustainable system engineered for the realities of 2050.